Hi, friends. Welcome back to the Inside Out Engineering Podcast, where we talk about emotional intelligence for the engineering mind. Today, I'm joined by my wonderful new friend, Jessica North. Jessica is the co-founder of EverNorth Solutions and an engineering leader with nearly 20 years of experience delivering complex power infrastructure projects. She has worked alongside utilities and multidisciplinary engineering teams responsible for planning, designing, and executing critical grid investments. Today, Jessica focuses on strengthening the operational systems that support infrastructure delivery while championing the human side of engineering, helping organizations build cultures with clarity, trust, and transparency the people need to grow, learn, and do their best work on projects that keep our communities powered. So, I think it's safe to say why I was so excited to have this conversation. We get into a lot of amazing topics, and I cannot wait for you guys to hear this conversation. So let's get going.
This is a good way to start. I like laughing to start.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a good icebreaker. All right, here
Well,
we are.
here we go. Jessica, thank you so much for hanging out with me today on the Inside Out Engineering Podcast. I'm thrilled to have you here.
I'm so excited to be here. Like, honestly, I've been waiting for this. I told people about it too.
Oh,
So
I
I'm
love it.
excited.
Oh my gosh, thank you. I love LinkedIn land. I really, really love LinkedIn land
I do
because
too.
it just brings me the coolest humans ever.
Yeah, I'm vibing with it quite a bit more, obviously,
Mhm.
now that, you know, I'm doing what I'm doing. And yeah,
Yeah,
it's pretty great.
I love
And
it.
it's how I found you. So
I
hey,
Yeah, exactly. It's the best.
the
Um,
best.
okay, so let's fangirl publicly. I want to start by asking you to tell me and everybody, what is your engineering origin story? What made you decide to be an engineer? How did you find engineering? And then what are we doing with it now?
So in middle school, um, we had an astronaut come visit our school
Mhm.
and do a school assembly. And he had taken our school flag up with him because he went to the same middle school.
Oh.
And right then and there, I was like, I want to be an astronaut. And so, literally, the only thing I ever pursued was the Air Force Academy.
Mm.
And I got in and I went in for astronautical engineering. And I
Wow.
realized that as much of an engineering brain I had, I was not good at certain engineering things. Like materials.
Mm.
Materials did not suit me. Torsion, like all of those stress, I couldn't wrap my head around it.
Yeah.
I was not doing well in it. However, I think I could have persevered. Um, but I took, since I was in a technical major, I took
Mm.
electrical engineering and I really liked it.
Mhm.
It just suited me. It made sense to me. But so I like switched my major like halfway through that semester where I
Mhm.
was just like, I really like electrical engineering. I'm going to stick with it. Um, 3 years later, I left. I went active duty. I served my country.
Wow.
Um,
Thank you
then
for your service.
thanks for your support. I love saying that because it's
That's
sometimes you don't have that.
yeah.
Um, and I'm gonna digress for just a second. When the Vietnam vets came back, they
Yeah.
did not have support, so I think it actually honors them when I
Yeah.
say thank you for your support. It's a tribute to them who didn't have that support when they got back.
Yeah.
So anyway, then I had a kid, and I decided I really needed to like finish what I was doing.
Mhm.
But so I transferred all my credits and to University of Colorado at Colorado Springs, and I had so many credits, like, but you have to do 2 years at your graduating school. And so I could have taken easy way out. I took
Mhm.
literally every electrical engineering course I possibly could. So they were all like s master's / bachelor's classes. I took everything in electromagnetics, I took comms classes, I took semiconductor classes. Um, but the classes that really spoke to me were the power classes. And
Mm.
I don't remember the instructor's name. I remember he had a really complicated, hard last name. So, but he was my power instructor, I think, for all 3 classes that I had.
Mhm.
And he also worked at Colorado Springs Utilities. So he would, like, take us on site visits. He would get approval. We went and saw a couple of substations. We walked power lines. We went into control centers, and I was just like, "This is, like, really cool." I really liked it. So I ended up there it is. So my engineering, started at Colorado Springs Utilities, um, at, you know, at a coal-fired power plant
Mm.
in the southern part of Colorado Springs. And I'm gonna tie something really interesting in
Yeah.
because one of my first projects was, there's something called fly ash.
Mhm.
And if it's too windy in Colorado, there's a place where they transfer the fly ash. It's after it's like a whole process thing, and the fly ash is kind of like what's left of the coal afterward. It's already been burned. It's
Mhm.
literally just the ashes, so it's
Mm.
very light.
Mm.
And there was a lot of research happening as to what to do with said fly ash. There's still research about what to do with fly ash,
Yeah.
but, um, regardless, we had to transport it.
Mhm.
But there were EPA requirements that it couldn't be transported if the wind was a certain like, blowing a certain, like, speed.
Sure.
So my first job was to install a fully electronic wind or weather station. So I
Mhm.
procured the weather station, I installed the weather station, and I pulled it into our virtual substation as, like,
Cool.
another page
Yeah.
so that all the operators could see whether or not the wind conditions were appropriate to move the fly ash. So there's my first tie into environmental,
Cool.
into
Very
the
cool.
environmental side. So yeah, I continued on that, and I've just been in power engineering my whole career. I've been doing engineering ever since. We're going on like 18 plus, almost 20 years
Wow.
of engineering. So
I uh, I love it. I love it so much, and I love when we can, like, fully immerse ourselves in the discipline that we want and then actually get to use it when we
yeah.
graduate. Because, like, that doesn't always happen for a lot of engineers. What you think you're gonna study and then actually getting to apply it the same way that you
Yeah.
studied it. Oh,
Right.
that's
Well, the crazy thing is the market had just crashed, right? So this is like
mm.
2008. The
Mhm.
market had just crashed. I was the only one in my entire graduating class that had a job.
Whew.
So I actually went and worked for an architectural firm
Hmm.
because EPACT uh, had come out with um, there was a letter of agreement between the military bases. So now I'm back kind of like doing a military-ish thing.
Mhm.
But we were doing energy and water master planning, also environmental, which is
Yeah.
crazy. So my big first start had a lot of environmental ties into it.
Yeah.
Um, and so I was doing energy and water master planning for military bases around the world.
Whoa.
So I was living in Colorado Springs at the time, but I did Joint Base Lewis McChord up in Washington. Um, Went to the Carolinas, Texas. I did Fort Hood, and we had to reschedule that because it was right after the Fort Hood shootings.
Oh my god.
I mean, so like we were going around to all of this stuff, just trying to figure out how military bases can reduce their energy and water consumption.
Mm. Oh,
Um, so
a whole
that was kind of like a short time. I was the only one with a job.
Mhm.
There was high saturation of engineers
Mm.
and no nowhere for them to work. I also didn't get an engineering job for the first year. I was actually a program manager. Like,
Mm.
how weird, right? I had no project management experience, um, but they were gonna put me in this program management spot where I was I was running at one point, I had a $330 million project that
Whoa.
I was helping do all the controls on.
Wow.
And, that was a crazy experience, but eventually I was like, "Hey, I have an engineering degree," and a position opened, so I went and slid into that. So my project management came first. I actually got a master's in project management at that time. I got my PMP at that time, um, and then went back into, like, the engineering world. But
Mhm.
I've really always been in the power and,
Mhm.
electrical space. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so that's the origin story, and then I mostly have done substations since, 2010, 2011.
Yeah. So I'm so excited that we're already at my favorite part of the conversation, or my favorite topic, like what we connected on the most is like the engineering and project management.
Yes.
That's just
Dichotomy.
yeah, yes, thank you. That's exactly the right word. Like, because and it's so interesting to me because I see this happen to a lot of engineers. We either get like thrust into project management or we choose it, right? Some engineers are like,
Mhm.
I know that's exactly what I want to do. And some engineers are like, no, you're both. You get to be the engineer and the project manager.
Yeah,
And then I do want to talk about like how sustainability, environmental, like intentionality has been so important and a theme throughout your career. But I want to start by talking about that, the dichotomy, right? Because very similar thing happened to me in my career. My first job out of college, I was the engineer and the project manager. They made all of the engineers be the lead engineer and the project manager on the job. They called it like project practitioner if it was under a certain threshold. Um, and like lucky, the Nikki's the oldest sibling, so I've been planning things my whole life. Like
you've been project managing your life.
yeah, completely. Like, I had a
It's a good
15-year
help.
plan in first grade. Like, I have been planning my life
Yeah,
forever. So,
yeah,
like, it was easy for me, but that is not a natural skill set for all engineers.
no.
And we kind of get stuck in this. So, talk to me about how you balance that? Was it something that you also innately just had that skill set? You said you pursued a master's in it. What made you decide like, no, I'm going to triple down, get a master's, get a PMP.
Yeah,
I'm going to be the
yeah.
best at then. Like, tell me, and
Well,
then decide to also leave it.
yeah, so I saw the writing on the wall really early that,
Mm.
um, engineering is systems.
Hmm.
And you're a systems engineer, really you are.
Yeah.
I'm a systems person. I at a very young age was always like team captain.
Mm.
I was a Girl Scout. I am proud to admit that I was a Girl Scout. I got my gold award. Um, and I ran a week-long summer camp for disabled
Mm.
folks in Southern California, and that was
Mm.
my gold award project.
Wow.
250 participants. I mean, like, not a small
Oh.
task for an 18-year-old.
Mm-mm. It's amazing.
And so I just innately understood systems.
Hmm.
I think the problem with because that is what happens.
Yeah.
And this is and it's not sustainable.
Hmm.
Um it worked for a while. But what ends up happening is like engineers progress, they're expected to take on more responsibility. Um like, I had a question come up when you asked me that was, "How much training did you get as a PM?"
Yeah.
Right? Like, you understood it, but how
Yeah.
much training did you actually get?
Zero. Absolutely none.
Big
Big
0,
fat zero.
right? A big fat 0, and, like,
Yeah.
that is the problem right
Hmm.
there, is
Yeah.
that we just expect our engineers who have kind of seen it all to now suddenly understand systems,
Hmm.
when what they really understand is maybe electrical systems, but they
Hmm.
don't see systems as a big whole,
Hmm.
and that's not for everybody. And let's like really be honest about engineers as people, right?
Hmm.
I have this old joke that I say, what's the difference between an introverted engineer and an extroverted engineer?
Is it the shoes? Is they're
Yeah,
looking at
an
your
extroverted engineer looks at your shoes,
Yes.
right? And so it's like, we're not all like that,
Yeah.
but you can look across an entire large engineering firm and you can really see and feel that sentiment.
Mhm.
And so, like, not everybody's really, like, made to be what we called project engineers, right?
Mhm.
Is that we hid that they're just a higher level engineer, but they're really project managers and technical experts and
Yeah.
expected to mentor.
Yep.
Um, and so then the hats just keep piling on.
Mhm.
Um, and that's the really hard pill to swallow
Mhm.
is that dichotomy is not only are not all engineers really made up for it,
Mhm.
but they don't necessarily want to.
Mhm.
Um, and the ones that do want to are often not provided the appropriate training.
Yep.
Or the ones that don't and are forced into it are still not provided the training.
Mhm.
So like it goes like I know your last podcast talked a lot about the humanity and the
Yeah.
human factor.
Yeah.
Um, and that's what we talk about a lot in sustainability, right? Is the
Mhm.
human factor. And what I'd like to see change is to focus more on that human factor as
Mhm.
opposed to what outcomes we're trying to get, right? We're
Yeah.
expecting our project managers or engineers, our high level engineers to be heroes all the
Yeah.
time.
Oh, yep.
And they're forced to focus on just getting the work out. I
Mhm.
don't care how you do it.
Yeah.
And
Well,
that's really hard for me to watch. That's hard
yeah.
for me to see, and it was hard for me to experience.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and it brings up a deeper issue that we're forcing somebody to do something that they're not comfortable with, 90% of the time, right? There are the unicorns. There are some of us that are like, you know what? Yeah, I thrive in this. Yes, I love this. This is what I want to
Yeah,
do. But even still, when I was the project manager, I was also still the mechanical engineer.
yeah,
So you're asking me to do two jobs, not
yeah,
just one job. So
yeah,
not only can I not lean into the thing that I really want to be doing, so I'm not even doing the thing I want to be doing very well, you're
right.
asking me to do two things to the least of my ability because I'm already multitasking. And we all know
Yes.
the myth multitasking is a myth. That is not possible.
Yeah,
No one in the history of humanity can actually do it.
right,
You're just diffusing your awareness and diluting what you're actually getting
right.
done. So there's this and we've seen, I've seen it a lot with companies that are like trying to save money. And they think it's also one, it's like, hey, I'm going to save money by making my
Yeah,
engineers also project managers. And two, then HR spins it and they're like, no, no, this is also career growth. This is
yeah,
to help you move into leadership. And we're like, no, it's not. This is you exploiting my skill set for pattern recognition and problem solving.
yeah,
And forcing me to do something that I either, maybe do, maybe don't want to do, but you're exploiting me because you're asking me to do two jobs instead of just the one.
yeah.
And I
Well, like,
really
let's take it a step further, right?
yeah,
Because you obviously, you have high EQ and you teach EQ.
yes.
And so you're a natural leader as well. So now what do we end up doing with these teams, right?
Mhm,
Um, so we end up leading teams,
mhm,
we end up leading clients,
mhm,
we end up PMs on our own jobs, we end up technical leads on our own jobs, sometimes to the effect that we have to actually do the design work because
yep,
our teams are overloaded
mhm,
and we have to do the design work. Plus, we're doing mid-year and end-of-year reviews.
mhm,
Plus, we're training. Plus, we're
mhm,
mentoring.
mhm,
Like at some point, it really just becomes you are literally torn in so many different directions.
mhm,
You have to, and this is the really important part, right? You have to find systems. You
mhm,
have to understand how systems work in order to even survive a a space like that, right?
yeah,
And to your point, it doesn't save them money.
mhm,
It saves them training, I
mhm,
guess, but I would have, in instance after instance, loved to have trained somebody to take something off. And it's funny, you said you wanted to stay in the engineering side. I, for the last 10 years, have been, I don't want to do engineering anymore. I want that PM stuff. I want to
Yeah.
be a PM. But gosh darn it, I'm a good engineer. And, and so like here I am kind of finding myself doing both.
Mhm.
But what is it that makes a really good project manager, like versus a good project engineer versus a good leader, right?
Mm,
And project managers have to be able to bring people together, have to have super high EQ.
mhm.
I mean, they have to be able to manage unrealistic expectations at times, manage workloads that are unrealistic, um, and
All of that without authority,
all of that
and
without, in many cases, without authority, right?
yeah.
Depending on the way that your company structure is put together. Yeah, it's so engineering is a systems thing,
Mhm,
but so is project management. So project management's a bigger systems thing.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, and I see why it's so easy for companies to make this mistake because it is, right? Like, oh,
Yeah.
you can create a system to solve this technical problem. Awesome. Create a system to solve this project problem. So I get why the line gets blurred, but
Mhm.
what's frustrating, right, is there's this lack
Yeah.
of training on both ends because
Yeah.
all of a sudden, right, like us as engineers, we're trained to have technical answers. We're trained to come in confident with all of the actual answers and throw data at everything.
Yeah.
But in project management, you do have to have high EQ. You have to be able to speak so many different languages, like not just, I'm the tech lead as well as the project manager. I can speak mechanical, or I can speak nuclear, or I can speak electrical. But me, when I was a project manager and engineer, I had to be the mechanical lead and also learn how to speak software and learn how to speak controls and learn how to communicate that to a customer who has no technical background at all
Yeah.
without any training. And
Yes.
if I didn't have the humility and to try different things and see what worked and ask the right questions, I would have been dead in the water because
Right.
that's what was happening to all of my other engineering counterparts. That's actually like fun fact. That's how I ended up with all 33 projects in my first 3 months of the company because I love talking to customers. I love talking to people. I love solving the human systems, right? Because
Yes.
it is. That's project
Exactly.
management. It's human
Yeah.
systems.
It is.
But my other engineers, they're like, I don't want to talk to a customer ever or a vendor or anybody. I just want to do the engineering. And I'm like, awesome, cool. Let's just swap. And so, but that was me taking it upon myself to
Yeah.
recreate redefine the role, which, you know, we can do, right? There are certain situations where like you
Absolutely.
can totally take control of your own career and your own role and say, hey, this is what I need to be successful. And I think
Right.
that I think is the next part of the conversation I want to dig into is like, how do we support ourselves and define the boundary conditions for what we need to be successful? If we say, if I want to stay in engineering, cool. Here, what do I need to do to make sure that I'm communicating, hey, this is where my skill set is, is or isn't, right? This is my comfort zone. This is where I want to grow versus, no, I really want to lean into project management. I want to learn these skills. I want you to put me in those spaces. What advice would you have for somebody trying to navigate that? And what kind of boundaries would you advise them to set?
So a couple of things, right? For yourself, depending on where you are in your career, that's like the big factor. Where are you at in your career? What is like your situational awareness is
Mhm,
really a big factor. Um, number one. Number two is do not take on more than you can handle. If
mm,
you do, if you ever do at any point, the very second that you realize, and I tell my junior engineers this all the time, the
mhm,
very second you realize I bit off more than I could chew, say something.
mhm,
Say something to your PM, say something to your manager, say something and say, I need support. If you wait till too late, it is going to be stuck on you. You are going to
mm,
have to figure out how to get it done, or you're going to be looking at getting moved along,
mhm,
getting pushed out because you failed to execute on a project.
mhm,
Don't let yourself fail to execute. protect yourself. That's
Right.
really what it is protecting yourself. Because when you're in an industry where there is more work to do than can be done, you feel the pressure to take on more
Mhm.
work than you can handle. Don't
Yeah.
fall into that trap. And it's really hard to not fall into that trap. And I can guarantee you, if it's your first job out of college, you will fall into that trap.
Mhm.
Do not fall
Okay.
into the trap of also protecting
Yeah.
your ego. You talked
Yeah.
about this last time. Protecting your ego
Mhm.
that, "Oh, shoot, I said I could take it on, and now I'm struggling." Stop it right there. Say, I'm gonna not protect my ego here, and I am going to tell you, I am going to struggle to get this project done. I
Mhm.
need resources." The earlier you say that, the more time your manager, project manager, whatever, has
Mhm.
time to find additional resources for you. So
Yeah.
those are, like, my big those are my big, like, warnings, and that's my big humanity caring is that you need to save yourself first.
Yeah.
Say no before you can't.
Yeah.
Say, "I need help," before you can't.
Yeah. And that's so hard for us, like, especially if we're engineers, we are the
Ah,
least likely group of humans to ask for help. And
yes.
because again, and it's not our fault, it's the how the system trained us, right? We are
Yes.
deliberately taught you have to have the answer, you've got to figure this out on your own because you're taught in school that you're the one that has to solve the right answer, you're graded as an individual, but then you get into the corporate world and it's a team sport. You are never doing anything alone, and this is a hard lesson that everybody has to learn at some point, but we're never gonna be given everything we need to be successful unless
No.
we ask for it, and
Right.
so
Yeah.
hard for us to do that.
It is really
So
hard.
it is, and I wanna know why. Like, is it simply because we're engineers and we're like, "No, I can figure this out myself?" Is it Nikki being ridiculously stubborn that I just am
No, no,
not good at instructions?
I think just like in, like in Sweden, right?
Yeah.
Teachers are put very high on a pedestal, and you're expected to work to a very high standard.
Mhm.
In the United States, engineers, no matter what engineer you are, "Oh, you're an engineer? Like, is that the response you get? Oh my gosh, you're an engineer?"
Yeah.
Um, like, "Oh, you must be so smart." Like, we tend to put engineers really high on a pedestal. "Oh, you're going to school for engineering?" And it starts there, right? "Oh, you're good at math?" It starts there, right?
Mhm.
So we start kind of, like, inflating, not to say that we aren't awesome and cool.
I was gonna say, we
We
are really cool. We're really
we are
smart.
really cool and awesome, but,
There's the ego
like,
right there.
yeah, but our egos start getting inflated at a very young age when we're good at math, right?
Yeah.
We don't tend to do that with the arts so much. We don't
Mm.
tend to do that even, like, necessarily with sports, even though I have things to say about sports versus engineers, but hey, um, I keep
Uh,
the lights on. What's gonna
yeah.
happen if I turn your lights off? There's no more basketball in your arena. Um, but, like, I mean, like, so we put that math and science at such a high, and it's not that it's not important, it absolutely is, but it starts to kind of, like, really inflate our egos at a very young age,
Mm,
and then when we suddenly feel like we can't handle something or something's a little harder than we expected,
mhm.
we kinda start to beat ourselves up, like, "I'm smarter than this. Everybody's been telling me for years how smart I am."
Oh my god.
And we start to beat ourselves up about it,
Uh-huh.
and it's all ego. Like, throw especially if you are a junior engineer, call Nikki and I about this. We will tell you, like, let go of the ego, protect yourself because it is really hard, and we will give you words of wisdom, and we will give you words to say to your bosses or whatever that will help you navigate this because this is a really big issue. I can't
Was
I have had engineer after engineer after engineer come in, junior engineers, and I will tell them first day, "You will take on more than you should.
Mhm,
I'm not telling you because I want you to. I don't want you to.
mhm,
I'm telling you don't do that. But you
mhm,
will because you're trying to impress me. And not
mhm.
only that, but you're trying to figure out how much you can actually take on.
Yeah.
That's not a
Yeah.
bad thing. That's a good thing."
Yeah, you're testing your own limits.
Right. But what I am going to also tell you is that you're going to fail to tell me that you're struggling. And what I'm going to tell you, if you wait too late to tell me, what I'm going to tell you is tough. You've put me in a situation where I cannot help you now. You're going to end up working this weekend
Mhm.
to figure it out and get it done. you know, if unless I can find other resources, or you're gonna be putting out one of your coworkers who's
Mhm.
also gonna have to work all weekend to make sure, and, like, that's not gonna feel good.
Yeah.
But you will do it because I've seen it over and over and over again, and I
Mhm.
understand why,
Mhm.
and then when you do it, you will call me and you will say, "That was too much. You were right. Next time, I will either not take on the extra work. I know my limits now. I will either
Mhm.
not take on the extra work or I will tell you sooner."
Mhm.
It's really good feedback, right? It's a negative feedback loop, but it's really good feedback for yourself to, like, be able to push yourself, but then give your engineers that freedom
Yeah.
to, like, you already told them they were gonna do it, so they have a lot easier time saying, "Yep, you were right,"
Yeah.
than, admitting it necessarily on the back end by themselves, right? Um, and it happens every time, and I just say, "Thank you for telling me. I'm so proud of you for this learning moment."
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, next
And that's
time, let me help you support you earlier,
yeah.
so that we're not spending all weekend
Mhm.
doing work that, we could have split 2 weeks ago,
Mhm.
you know?
Well, and that also requires emotional intelligence as a leader to say, "Hey,
Yes.
like, I know the problems that you're gonna walk into," right? Like, I know I've been there and I expect you to make this mistake, right?
Yep.
I'm gonna be humble enough to know that you're human and we're all gonna make the same mistake because it is. It's inherently something that whether it's ego that's driving it or insecurity because I want to prove my value and prove that I'm worth every penny you're spending on me, or this is my first job out of college and I'm trying to like figure out my own worth and my own, sense of self. Like there's so many layers to it.
Yeah,
I did the same thing. Same thing. First job out of college, I said
me
yes to
too.
every project. I
Yep.
literally like that was like it earned me a reputation of the millennial with a work ethic.
Uh-huh.
And I wore that like a badge of honor, the number of like just the crap that they would just throw on me because I was the millennial with a work ethic and I could figure it out. And I was drowning, like utterly, completely
Yeah,
drowning. And there
yeah,
was a point in my early career where that was the advice that I was giving was, hey, just say yes. Like your
yeah.
career will do you'll be able to do anything you ever want.
Don't
Just say
just
yes
say
when I
yes.
give you. But like but then you realize, "Oh, no, actually, I should not be saying yes to everything." Like, I
Yep.
need to have the discernment, but it also brings up another really important, like, just psychological development, aspect, and that's we learn more when we make mistakes than if we do things
It's so
right.
true.
Because like,
Yeah.
if I was able to manage all of those projects seamlessly, I would have and it's weird because I don't know if this happens to you, but, like, whenever something goes really right, I'm kind of like, "Don't touch it. I don't even know what I did right, but I'm gonna become superstitious right now, and I'm gonna do the exact same thing and not even know what I did right because there was no, like, negative feedback. There was no, like, you know,
Right,
bumpers that was pushing me in the right direction. It was,
right.
nope, I just somehow hit a strike, and I have no idea how I'm gonna replicate that, but I'm just gonna try." And it's one of those,
Yeah,
like, I'm holding my breath and just, like, stand on one leg so that I don't, like, blow down the house of cards.
right, exactly. I know you're so grateful. You're so grateful for those moments, right? Where, I mean, whether or not it was intentional,
Mhm.
um, that it all just, like, worked out. I mean, I can tell you that I have had more projects that are not like that than projects that are like that.
Yeah.
Um, and usually those ones just kinda, like, slide by, and it's kind of like I don't know, it's kind of like in a relationship, right? Like,
Mhm.
you have a relationship with your projects, but it's work relationships, whatever. You don't
Yeah.
really say things when things are going well, right?
Mhm.
You don't question when things are going well. It's when
Mhm.
things aren't going well that you start questioning things.
Yeah.
Like, for me, the big thing that I learned and understood at a very and I'm gonna guess that you're very similar in this. I've met a couple of people that are just very much like this, is that maybe they went to school for mechanical engineering, maybe
Mhm.
what they went to school for, um, you know, computer engineering, whatever it is. Um, am I dating myself? I think there's a lot of different things now. But if you were like me, I had interest in how they fit together and
Mhm.
how they worked together.
Mhm.
And I think that's what really makes a PM. And I think, like, as leaders,
Mhm.
we can actually start identifying those folks really early. You might have those folks that are like, "Hey, I want to learn PMing." I want to see you in your role first. I want
Yeah.
to see if you understand innately how things work
Yeah.
together.
Mhm.
Because if I hand you electrical, drawings versus physical drawings, can
Mhm.
you like can you relate those? Can you naturally figure out kind of how those things work together? Do those things make sense to you?
Mhm.
Or are you struggling to understand how a one line translates into a three line,
Mhm.
translates into control drawings?
Yeah.
Um, you know, and there's nothing wrong with that. That just means to me that like you're less systems oriented naturally. Not
Yeah.
to say that you can't be trained, and that is usually what I do first is I
Mhm.
start trying to make those connections. But if you look at a project, or you look at projects are the best way to look at it, but you can look at any system, right? You can look at something as small as planning a trip. Yeah,
Planning a vacation.
yeah,
Planning a
planning a
trip.
vacation.
Yeah.
Like, you have to understand all the cogs
Mhm.
that play a role. And in the system, whatever the system may be, you are only one cog, right?
Mhm.
But in order for the system to function appropriately and function properly, all the cogs have to in some way be connected.
Mhm.
And that is really understanding systems, is
Mhm.
that if I move at this speed, or if I move in this direction, who am I going to impact? How am I going to impact them? And how is it going to affect the system down the line?
Mhm.
Or I may not be directly connected to this cog,
Mhm.
but this cog is connected to this cog.
Yeah.
So, how is my impacting this cog actually going to impact that cog, which is going to impact that cog, right? As a PM, you're like almost the central cog. Like,
Yeah.
you're touching everything. As an engineer, maybe not like so much. Maybe
Mhm.
you are kind of the one cog that touches the next cog,
Mhm.
and they all have their place in the machine. We all have our place in the machine, and sometimes we feel very insignificant in that machine. However, we're not,
Yeah.
and we matter.
Mhm.
And the way that we act, the way that we respond,
Mhm.
the way that we proceed, the way that we, you know, show up. That's the word I was
Mhm.
looking for. The way that we
Yeah.
show up is all representative of your cog. Does your
Yeah.
cog have missing teeth? Is your cog dirty? That's self-care,
Yeah.
right? So like
Completely.
and self-care is being able to say no.
It is.
Because if you keep saying yes, you are muddying the cogs, you are making yourself run slower, less efficiently, and how does that
Mhm.
impact everybody else?
Yeah, and it also shows, like, a lack of trust. Like, as much as we, like, think saying yes to everything means that people can rely on us and they can trust us to do things, but that only works if you're actually delivering successfully every single time.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Because if you're someone that just keeps saying yes to things and you're not delivering the things you say yes to, like, you're absolutely right. You're gonna get pushed out of this project.
yeah,
I'm not gonna ask you to do something again, and it's going to negatively
right,
impact your career in the long run, even though
right,
you think you're being super helpful in the short term.
right.
And I mean, like, my whole, like, branding is gears and cogs, and so I love this metaphor so much
I
because
know.
it's so real, it's so visceral because you don't realize, even if you think that your cog is very small, right? Like, even if you're not even the lead electrical engineer, you're just an electrical engineer on
Right.
that project. Maybe
You're a
you're
drafter.
yeah, maybe you're a drafter, right? Like
You may see yourself as, well, I'm just a drafter. I'm
Mhm.
just a E1. I'm just a, designer, whatever it is. Your cog impacts the the designer, impacts the engineering work, impacts the project work,
Mhm.
impacts the client work, impacts especially if you're a consultant, right,
Mm,
impacts the bottom line. It goes all the way up the chain. You
mhm.
know, like, it is a manager's and leadership's responsibility to care for their troops.
Yeah,
Um,
totally.
but it is also of vital importance for you to care for yourself.
Yes. Yes, because and I love talking about this in the sense of, like, finding meaning in your work because it's so
Yeah.
easy for us if we feel so far removed from the
Mhm.
customer, from the executive, from what have you, to feel like the work that we're doing is busy work and it doesn't matter, but it
Yeah.
does. And that's a choice that every individual can make, and that is a form of emotional intelligence, that's a form of self-care, to
Yep.
find meaning and purpose in your work, even if it feels mundane. Every single piece matters. The whole system collapses if you don't have that one gear in the one right place because
Right.
the rest of them will just spin and spin and spin, and you're not getting the traction because your teeth are not connecting with their teeth. So
Yes.
everybody's
Exactly.
spinning because you're missing, and you think that you're
Right.
small, but you are a force multiplier. Regardless of
Yes.
how big your wheel is, you are a force
Yes.
multiplier.
Yeah, and that is why I love the cog. I mean, that is exactly why I love the cog analogy, and I use it
Mhm.
all of the time. Cogs are so important,
They are.
and, do not forget how important you are, no matter what size of cog you are, where you are in the system. Like,
Mhm.
never forget that you are important and you play an important role. I am too important to take on more than I am capable of. It is very important to also say, "Hey, look, yes, I feel like I can take this on. However,
Mhm.
I know it's going to really be stressful on me." Be okay with saying, "I'm going to need a day off, an extra day off at the end of this push."
Mhm.
Are you cool with that? I am always cool with that. In fact, I, like, applaud them. I'm like, "Yes,
Yes.
absolutely." And
Yes, I do.
sometimes I will say, "I will even pay for that day off." It's just so important, and that should be goal 1. It's not like an arrogance thing,
Mhm.
or an entitlement thing, right? It is a self-preservation thing, right?
Mhm.
It is good to push yourself. It is good to learn your boundaries. It is good to see how much you can actually handle. That is really good feedback for growth, for learning, for understanding. That's good feedback for your management team
Mhm.
and the team you're working with. Um, if you have people around you that understand your limits as well, I just want to know if there are things that I can rework that maybe have later dates that I can help you, that you can help me and pull
Power.
this project forward.
Mhm.
And, you'd be surprised how much, I mean, people really want to help. They really want, especially engineers. You said it
Yes.
at the beginning, especially engineers, we really want to help. We really want to solve things.
Yeah.
And if I do take this workload, how are we going to compensate mental anguish that I
Mhm.
went through, if I worked all weekend.
Yeah.
Um,
'Cause our brains need rest, like,
they
we
do.
cannot we all the system needs rest, we need rest, we can't just
Yeah,
keep pushing because
no.
eventually, like, again, that's, like, if we put our engineering hats on, right, like, you will exhaust the system, and then when you become the exhausted cog, when you are completely broken and you cannot function anymore, now you're a liability.
Right.
Now you are causing friction and drag on the system where if you had just taken a day to just, like, grease yourself up a little bit, give yourself a little, clean, dust off, time to actually rest and recuperate.
Mhm.
Just one day, even an afternoon, even something as simple as like, 'cause this I've seen this happen far too often where you have these like really stressful project update meetings, say like in the
Mhm.
morning, and
Mhm.
you're so frazzled for the rest of the day because it didn't go well that instead of just taking like an hour out of your day to go take a
Yeah,
walk, to get out of your either, if you work from home, go outside. If you're in an
right.
office, like go out to lunch, do something to get yourself out of this space and actually give yourself a break to regulate. Otherwise, if you don't do that, you take that frazzled, negative, panicked energy with you for the rest of the day, and all of the
Mhm.
work suffers from there. Everything
Yep,
suffers. So,
everything features.
yeah, it's so important for us to give ourselves that rest. And it is important, again, as leaders. You're absolutely right. Like, again, such an important emotional intelligence in leadership to recognize, hey, my team is overloaded and their work, yes, is a reflection of me, but it's a bigger reflection of me if I push them to the point of exhaustion and then the whole system breaks. That's my fault if I'm a
Yeah,
leader and that's what happens. It's not
right.
the engineers. I've set the tone as the executive. I've said, no, I need you to push yourself to a breaking point because that's the culture I've created. So
Right.
if your engineers are burning out and they're failing, that is a reflection of you as a leader. And
Yeah,
it's time to take a good hard look at yourself and say, why am I not practicing what I'm preaching? Why am I creating a culture where my team thinks
yeah.
they have to push themselves to this breaking point? What am I
Mhm.
doing that's setting this example or setting this tone? And
Right.
it requires that humility and that self-awareness. And then, the more you do it, the more you practice it, the better off your whole team gets. And then you become a group of high performers. And that is, again, an even bigger reflection of you that you've
Yeah,
created an entire culture of high performing engineers or project managers because you know how to set the tone. You know how to create boundaries. You know what taking a break really
yeah,
means and why it's important for you and for your team.
absolutely. You are important and you're human. Like,
Mhm.
just remember that none of us are infallible, right?
Mm-mm.
Um, I have seen plenty of senior leadership make poor decisions.
Mhm.
We all have. Um, and not understand how it impacts the people who work for them. Like you said earlier, sometimes our biggest growth is when we fail.
Mhm.
Um, I want to tell you a story about kind of like my biggest engineering moment.
Yeah.
Um, so for a very highly reputable top 10 engineering firm that I was working for, at one point I'd been kind of pushing to lead this team and to be driving this team, and I changed the whole system. I changed how we were doing things.
Mhm.
I had project engineers, and by project engineers for this client in particular, project engineers are all project managers, but for this client in
Mhm.
particular, what it meant was that you actually ran the projects like through their system. You were the identified technical lead. You ran the project from, start to finish.
Mhm.
And that is estimating and planning all the way through um, closeout. And at any one point, I had 25 projects going on at any time. The difference is that I created systems and I created a lot of understanding
Mhm.
of consistency. We all expected the same things.
Mhm.
All the project engineers expected the same outcomes. We expected the same design work. We expected the same results. Our expectations were all aligned. We were all
Mhm.
expecting the same things. The requirements to go through the project before I took it over, it was get your projects to 90%, then we review them. I was like,
Mm.
nope, we're doing 30, 60, 90.
Wow.
I was like, this is how we're going to grow. And this is how
Mhm.
we're going to catch things earlier.
Yes.
And so we changed the system. We changed the culture of our group.
Mhm.
And it enabled us to, anytime a project got dropped somewhere else, our office was the first phone call. Can you pull this up? I
Mhm.
never said yes without my whole team. Leadership called me. They have this project. Here's what it looks like. Here's the effort that I think it takes. Here's where I see possible availability.
Mhm.
Um, how do you all feel about it? And they would give me the go, no go.
Mhm.
And if they gave me the no go, I would call and say, it's a no go for my team. We do not have the capacity to take that on. That is where I realized that I was doing something different,
Mhm.
right? How has my team become literally the best team in a nationwide company where we
Mhm.
would be the first one to ask, "Can you take this on? Can you do this project?" Um, and it's not because I was better than everybody else or smarter than
Mhm.
everybody else. It's I understood systems.
Mhm.
And I put systems into place that made sense to me, and then when
Mhm.
the systems were followed and there was consistency and we were all on the same page about what was expected, getting used to the 30, 60, 90 process, and it was easy to implement because
Mhm.
there were very specific spots where you could break it up.
Yeah.
Um, and I mean, just the clarity alone
Oh, yeah.
made such a big difference. It was so impactful to be able to look back. That's when I realized, like, this business that I started really could be effective,
Yeah.
in helping teams work more effectively. Because if
Mhm.
I walk into a team, right, that isn't functioning the way that team functioned, and if I
Mhm.
could bring them even a step closer, they're gonna be
Mhm.
able to take on 2, 3 more projects.
Mhm.
You know, maybe if they can, if they've got a good culture started, or if they've got some of it, maybe they're taking on 7 to 10 more projects, right?
Mhm.
But then they're scalable. They can
Yeah.
grow faster. And then when we actually rarely lost people in our group. People wanted to join our group.
Yeah.
Um, but when we lost people, it it didn't hurt us,
Mhm.
Like, we lost somebody, he wanted to go work on a different client for a while. It didn't matter. We were able to spread that work around. Systems and clarity and consistency
Mhm.
are such big drivers to sustainable growth, to, resiliency against attrition.
Mhm.
And this is like where that whole sustainability kind of environmental side comes in, right? Because
Yeah.
environmental is the human factor,
It
right?
is.
And
Yep.
if we treat our engineers and our project managers and everybody on our teams as the humans that they are,
Mhm.
and that they're part of the systems that they are part of,
Mhm.
like, there's no stopping us. We can do 2 to 3 times more than we've been doing with the same number of people if we just put the right things in place and we just treat the people like they're people,
Yeah.
right?
And yeah, and not machines and
And not
not
machines.
yeah. And
Yeah.
you also hit on something really important that I see 2 things really important that I see companies really struggle with. One is this idea of you need to slow down to go faster. And the way right, because there's so many companies out there, they're like, "No, I just wanna get to 90. Don't like, just run
Right.
and go." But when you sit down and you say, "No, I'm not gonna just take on work. I'm not gonna build the plane while I'm flying it. I'm gonna take a step back. We're gonna pause, make sure we have all the information. We're gonna check in periodically." That is what allows us to move faster in the right direction instead of running straight into a brick wall and then having to go all the way back and then rebuilding. You
Yep.
have to go slow to go fast. Super
Right.
important.
Really
And then
important.
yeah.
You have to be able to, be agile, right? The old systems aren't working anymore, right? They're
Mhm,
not built for this amount of work. They're not built for this structure.
mhm,
So there are things you can do. Yes,
mhm,
there are certain parts that have to slow down, but there are certain parts that you can push up front, you can do quick sprints on,
mhm,
and you can set yourself up for better performing projects.
mhm,
Projects that run more smoothly, have less change orders. Why
mhm.
aren't we doing that? I mean, even just that, let
Well,
alone,
yeah,
you
no, and
know
that's the second half of this. It's organizations that think going fast is just going fast. Like, to them, just go figure it out. I don't care, just somebody go
right,
figure it out and just go do it, and they don't have the structure. Like, there's so many companies out there, especially startups, and it is something that just boggles my mind. There are these startups out there that think that PMO and just any sort of project management is like a four-letter word, and it's the worst thing, and it's just admin, and it's just overhead, but all you need is just a little bit of structure. If
yeah,
even an organized sprint, one organized sprint could completely change how you get your stuff done. But there's
yeah,
so many companies out there that think that PMO is this like burden, that it is a something that slows you down and causes all these problems. But no, that's actually how you scale. That's how you get things done.
yes,
You have
right,
to have structure,
exactly,
even if it's a new structure, right? Like, even if you're adopting agile and you're moving away from waterfall, even if you are a hardware company and you're adopting sprints, right? Like, this you can try new things. You can adopt things from different
yeah,
spaces, but you have to have structure. Plain and
yep,
simple. Structure is the
yep,
lifeblood of organizations. And if you
right,
do not have structure, if you do not have PMO, it's just the blind leading the blind. Everybody's hair is on fire and nothing is ever going to get done.
Yeah. And process, right?
Yeah.
Process doesn't matter if it's not being used.
Yes, you can have the best freaking process in the world. Trust me. I've been there. You
You can have a book this thick
Yes.
about how you process your projects, and if it's not being used, it's not
Yep.
effective. It doesn't matter.
Yep.
I mean, and if
That's
you've
a
got every
behavior issue.
PM doing something different,
Yep.
you've just thrown it all out the window. We just need to be consistent and we need to follow the process. And if we're not following the process, we need to figure out a process that will be followed, right?
Yes.
Because I mean, it could be a great process in theory,
Mhm.
but we said it multiple times. We're overloaded, right? We're
Mhm.
overloaded as project engineers, project managers. So you know what we're not doing? We're not doing lessons learned.
Mm-mm.
We're not doing risk assessments.
Nope.
We're not actually fully building out our stakeholder, you know, matrix.
Mm-mm.
We're not actually building a project management plan,
Yeah.
you
Oh
know,
god, no. Schedules are always just work in progress. There is no baseline to your schedules anymore. Like it's
and budgets. Like,
yeah,
you
it's a joke.
like, we got to get the work done. So, I mean, if we end up
Oh,
having to pay
no.
for it or we have to do a change order later, you know, why, that is why you have a PMO. You have a PMO to do those things, not the technical work. It is
Mm-mm.
absolutely great for a PM to be able to say, I need to get you on a call with my technical team. When are you
Mhm.
available?
Yeah.
If you're concerned about your bottom line, why are you not concerned about this in particular, right?
Mhm.
If you're getting jobs done more effectively, producing more with higher quality because you have the systems in place,
Mhm.
you've got clients coming back for more, you've
Mhm.
got clients offering more jobs to do,
Mhm.
or you're able to take on more jobs because you have figured out how to not have massive change orders so that when
Mhm.
you get to the end of the year, you can't do the last 20 projects you had on your list because your first 20 projects overspent.
Mhm.
Like, you are avoiding so much, but by ignoring these problems, these issues,
Mhm.
by continuing to force heroics,
Mhm.
you are just going to keep losing money. You're going to have clients walk away. You are going to burn out all your employees and they're going to walk away. It's not new news that people walking in a job have no reason to stay.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
no such thing as loyalty anymore. And
Mhm.
and loyalty came when you had pensions.
Mhm.
Loyalty came when you had a reason to stay. And,
Mhm.
and now I see the world starting to now we're shifting the script and we're saying, well, we don't want people who have done the same thing for 8 years. We want better rounded people. Oh my gosh, then give them the opportunity to be well
Well,
rounded where they're at.
yeah.
Why are you okay with losing people constantly
Mhm.
and having to train the next person when you could have spent just the extra time training the one person you already have in
Yeah.
something that they're more interested in or something that better suits them? Why are we now just accepting that people are bouncing around? We're not giving them fair growth paths. We're
Mm-mm.
not giving them fair option paths. We're literally shoving them into the box that we need them to fill.
Mhm. It's short-term thinking. We've shifted from I'm providing value to my customers to I'm providing value to my shareholders, and my shareholders need value every quarter. So
Yeah,
my employees, if they don't produce and perform the exact task I need just in this moment, we've lost all sense of like strategic thinking. There are no
yeah,
companies out there that are thinking 5, 10, 15 years down the line. They're just trying to make it to next quarter. And that is
right,
so disappointing. It is extremely disappointing to see. And especially for us as engineers, because that's all we're trained to do is think
yeah,
long term and think about all the problems that are coming and how we can mitigate them. It's again, and it's hard for anybody to want to stay at a company where you're like, I see this freight train coming my way and you think it's the sun. Like
right.
this This is not okay. But to your point about all the process stuff, right? Like, one, people don't want to stay in organizations where they're not valued, plain and simple. But two, if your leadership sees people not following the process and their response is it's, just to try and throw more structure onto it, you're not solving the real problem.
Right.
There's a cultural issue. There's an emotional intelligence issue. It's a behavior
Yes.
issue. If
Yes.
your team is so focused on working around the process instead
We
of
have
using,
reactions.
yeah.
Can we can we do this? Can we
Yes.
do applauses work?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, girl. Like,
That's,
Nikki, yes, this is it. This is exactly it. I'm actually
yeah.
doing a workshop on this next month to talk about this
Yes.
exactly. That if it's not structure, if it's not processes, you know, have you considered maybe it's your culture?
Yes, the number of
You know?
problems that can be solved by fixing culture, and again, which I think is like the deeper issue, right? Like, you've got these companies that are only focused on quarter by quarter, which means their cultures are suffering. And if you don't have a culture where people want to be, they're going to just CYA, focus on how do I just protect myself? I'm not going to reach across the silo. I'm not going to reach across and be more cross-functional. I'm not going to follow the process the way it's intended because
Yep.
I'm only measured, right? Like, my performance measurements are, did I get my part of the job done? Not
Right.
was the whole, because like which is a whole nother discussion, which would be
Right.
fun. I feel like this needs to turn into a series of like, how do we unpack and solve all these problems?
It
Um,
could. It could.
but like, it's all deep down, it's all emotional intelligence work, it's all deep cultural work, it's all, how do I make sure that I am serving the people? I was on another friend's podcast a couple days ago, and she asked me a question, what's a leadership myth that I would love to dispel and what would I replace it with? And I hate when people say we're too focused on people. I personally think you cannot be focused on people enough, plain
No.
and simple.
Yep.
Everything we do, and especially in this age of AI, where again, people like to think that AI and all these fancy new tools are going to solve all of our problems for us. They're not. I hate to
No.
say it.
No.
Machines break just like humans are messy. So
Yeah.
you either have a machine break that can't really fix itself, or you invest in your people so that you can work with the tools, right? If you want your people to
Yes.
work with AI,
Yes.
that's fine. Do
Right.
both. But the AI will not function fully autonomously.
Right.
Humans are messy and make mistakes. So in
Mhm.
order to make those, like, you
AI
just have,
makes mistakes.
yeah, we have to.
AI is built by humans. So,
Yeah, also
you
that
know,
AI makes, like, all of it makes mistakes.
yeah.
It's you're absolutely right. Like, right, humans are messy, AI is messy, it's built by humans. Like, all technology is built by humans. So
Yeah.
there is no way any sort of tech is going, like, which is the whole,
Right.
tech culture, is it'll save the day. It won't. It simply won't.
No.
W Like,
I
you
mean, it
always,
might boost productivity, right? Like, if we're gonna use it to boost
yeah.
productivity, I mean, I don't see any harm in that. I mean, there's a great place for AI, and there will continue to be, like, great places for AI, and AI will continue. I don't see the AI bubble popping,
Mm,
like, it's gonna continue to be a part of our lives.
yeah.
It's going but, like, how we choose to use it.
Yeah, like, humanity is the point. Like, at the end of the day, I see the value of AI. I see, because to me, it's just another form of automation. And humans have been automating things for our entire existence because it removes the mundane and it
Right.
allows the human to do things that are more meaningful and important. So,
Yeah.
like, when I was leading program and project management, my favorite thing to do was say, like, hey, what are some things that are just such a heavy burden for us that we would love to outsource? And
Mhm.
99% of the time, it's things like note taking. Because I mean,
Yeah.
how freaking hard is it to sit here and run a meeting and also take all the notes and take all the action items and also facilitate the right discussion? Like, that's
Right.
super challenging. And you don't want to, like, be dismissive and be like, hey, you be the note taker, don't engage in the conversation, just record it all. That's not
Right.
fair. We all have a
Yeah,
voice. It's all important for us to be here. So I would have them record their meetings, right? And it would spit out the meeting notes. It would give the action items.
exactly.
It would tag people. I'm like, and the time that my guys got back because they weren't wasting their time doing mundane things and we were actually focused on solving problems in real time in the meeting instead of just taking notes about the meeting, the things we need to solve.
Right.
That's the point, right? It's using the tools to remove the mundane, to remove the heavy lifting
Totally.
for you so that you
Totally.
can be more productive. And so I'm with you. Like, I know it's
Yeah.
not going anywhere, but it's, again, we have to think of these things as tools to enable the
Right.
humans inside companies because
Right.
you will always have humans. They're like
Yep.
these, there are definitely solopreneurs out there that have, AI doing a bunch of stuff for them, but how successful are they when it's one of the biggest reasons I started even doing these videos on LinkedIn is because there's so many people out there using AI to write your content. I'm like, I'm not AI. There's like, you can't predict this. I don't even know what's coming out of my mouth in the next sentence, let alone AI predicting
Yeah. Right.
coming out.
Right. Exactly. And
So,
like, yeah, you're absolutely right. And there is no replacement for the human factor. As good as, I mean, as good as AI could be, and I have really played with it just
mhm.
like to have fun, make this more fun sounding.
Yeah.
Make this make this sound like, okay, you are a zookeeper, you know.
Yeah. Well,
Like,
okay,
how would you
which
respond to this? You
yeah,
know?
which also brings up like, and I feel like this is a whole conversation that I think we should also have on and like dive into fully, but it also brings up the sustainability question to me when it comes to like using AI for the mundane things. Like I have so many friends
Right.
that are like they just take their friends and make them do funny videos. Like
Right.
make the guys in the shop do TikTok dances using AI. Like
Right.
that's a lot of water that you just wasted
It
to make a
is.
funny video of your friend. That like
It is.
we're not talking about that. And I feel like that whole sustainability and just like the environmental impact of using AI, like,
Mhm.
is it something everybody should be using for the most mundane things? Like, or do we need to be a little bit more intentional? And why aren't we talking about that? But that that aside,
Yeah.
I do want to talk about what you're doing now and make sure we like tell everybody about how like why this conversation even came together because we're both like obviously big fans of each other, but I also want to make sure that like
Yes.
everybody hears about what you're doing with your business with engineering, with project management, and specifically in the environmental space and sustainability.
Yeah. Yeah. So, um, my partner, my wife and I, we just kind of came together and realized that I've
Mhm.
always kind of like had this sustainability thought. Like, I really hate waste.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Like,
Every
I
engineer.
have a real big thing about trash.
Mm,
Um, I hate waste, but I hate waste in time too.
mm,
And so why not use my skills in my specific area, right? So I've got 20 years of utilities, all this project management experience. Like we are time is precious too, right?
mhm,
And humans are precious and that is part of the environmental factor, right? The
mhm,
the, the environment has changed because of humans,
mhm,
right? If we can help teams be more effective, we are being sustainable, right?
mm,
We are we are pulling some of that waste out. We are getting rid of some of the waste. We are recycling that into more productivity, more work out without putting the added pressures on, right?
mhm,
And so we're diving really hard into circular economy. So we've got three main pillars. One pillar is project management, and we're focused right now, especially, we're focused really hard on the utility industry. It is an industry that is growing so rapidly because of data centers,
mhm,
because of the need for that online load, sustainability projects for utilities. But right
mhm,
now, we need to focus on how to get those PMs running effectively
mhm,
so that when we bring in this, oh, now we have an environmental project
mhm.
into our plates that we know how to adjust to it. So we got to like fix the core problem first,
Yeah.
and then we can move kind of into that. Like, let's start bringing on sustainability projects. Let's start focusing on this. So that also rolls into our ESG side.
Mhm.
So we do ESG work really focused around circular economies, and then also focusing in on um, those utility sides. And then the last pillar is we assist with building certifications. It's really about making that building a better environment for people to work in and inhabit. So it all kind of like comes together. I like when it comes down to it, when we were first putting our business proposal together, what problem do you want to solve? And we were like, we want to save the world. We want to save humanity. You know,
Don't we
um,
all?
yes, we figured it out a little bit more, and that's like really not a good plan. Um, but it is central to everything that we do. It is all human focused, from our
Mhm.
project management to our ESG work to our um, building certification work. It is all human focused.
Mhm.
We care about the future of humanity, of people, and
Yeah.
whatever we can do to build communities, whether
Mhm.
they're our community, direct community, or communities around the globe, whatever it is that we can do to help build more sustainable, more resilient, because I kind of don't like the word sustainable.
Mm.
I'll tell you why briefly.
Mm.
Um, if you're in a relationship, you're not just trying to sustain your relationship. Like if
Oh.
your relationship needs growth, um, right?
Oh, you're
Like
not growing, you're dying. There
you're
you
not
go.
growing, you're dying. Like, and so like, why are we settling for sustaining where we're at? We're already way behind, right? Um, so like
Fair.
we need to step it up a notch.
Mm.
We need to get ahead of this. And we need to build resilient communities,
Oh.
communities that can endure economic turndown, that can
Mhm.
and come together, that can endure, you know, global events, or that is building resiliency.
Yeah.
And that is really what we are. I'm getting chills because I'm so excited about this. I love
I
this
love it.
so much. Caring about the human factor and caring about what we can do just for our communities.
Mhm.
And that's what our company is all about, is that human factor. That's what we care
I
about.
love it. I love it, which is why I deeply care about what you're doing, and I
Yeah.
am so excited that you're here chatting with me today. Well, thank you again for all of your time, all of your expertise. I really want this to be a series, so there may be more coming,
Yes,
selfishly.
let's do more.
Well, we will definitely get those things on the books. We're gonna have a whole series coming your way.
Love it.
Um, but again, thank you so much. I had so much fun. I love talking to you, Jessica. It just means the world to me that you're here.
Thank you so much, Nikki.